Hi, everyone. Today's webinar is going to be about future-proofing your business, how to start selling online. So, hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Nixon. I'm a sales engineer here at Lightspeed. With me, I have Deanna Thornton, who's the Director of Marketing over at Mailchimp.
Thanks, Cameron. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. As Cameron mentioned, I'm a Director of Marketing overseeing the e-commerce and retail segments for Mailchimp. Mailchimp, if you haven't heard of us, we are an all-in-one marketing platform for growing businesses. We empower millions of businesses and individuals around the world to really start and grow their business with our world-class marketing technology. We have award-winning customer support and very inspiring content to help you grow your business.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Deanna. So first off today, I would just like to highlight our vision here at Lightspeed, which I think is more important than ever during these difficult times. Our mission is to bring cities and communities to life by powering independent business. This means giving you the tools that you need to allow your business to survive and compete with the big box retailers that tend to dominate the marketplace. So speaking of those tools, today we're going to be focusing on how to future-proof your business and start selling online. Obviously, when preparing a website, there's a lot of things to consider, so we're going to try and break it down into some of the key areas to focus on while you're building out your website. The first thing we're going to talk about is your stock. Obviously, with this website, you're going to be selling the products from your store online, so there's a few important things to consider when preparing these products for your site. When adding inventory onto your website, starting out with 8 to 10 products is generally a good option at the beginning. For these items, you'll want to make sure that you currently have them in inventory. You certainly don't want to launch your website and start receiving orders for items that you don't currently have in stock, and then force your customers to wait until you receive them. So it's important to make sure that you have sufficient inventory for the products that you're going to be listing on your website. The next thing you're going to want to ensure is that you're able to sell these items online. Sometimes there may be agreements with certain vendors or maybe specific state or provincial regulations that prohibit merchants from selling certain products online. So you'll first want to make sure that there's nothing stopping you from listing these products for sale on your site. You'll also want to make sure that you're able to ship these items out. You may have products in the store that are maybe larger or more fragile or just less simple to ship. So especially when you're first starting out, it's really smart to select items that you're easily able to ship out to your customers. You'll also want to make sure that you can find or create at least one image for each of the items you're going to be listing on the site. E-commerce is a very visual medium, and the photos that are displayed on your site are what will make the first impression on your customers. So it's important to have photos that clearly highlight each of the items that you're going to be displaying on the website. It's also important that you're able to create content, like a short and long description for these products. Though having an image is necessary, there's certainly information that isn't as easy to display in a photo. So you'll need to be adding some text descriptions highlighting the features of your products. Finally, especially if you're starting off with that smaller selection of items, it's important that each of the products are related to another item that's being listed on your site. You'll want to choose a cohesive selection of items that both represent your individual brand, but also relate to each other in some way. This will make the shopping experience much more manageable for your customers and is more likely to encourage these customers to purchase additional related items. So to dig deeper on the descriptions you'll be listing for your items online, there's some key points that you're going to want to make sure you include. It's important to know that search engines reward unique content. So if at all possible, you should enter this text yourself rather than copying the text provided to you by a supplier. In terms of that content, the basics you should absolutely highlight are things like the sizing for that item, the weight or the materials used in it, along with any other pertinent information about that product's components. Though this information should definitely be included in your descriptions, you also want to make sure that your product pages don't just read like a simple fact sheet. You should also focus on highlighting the benefits of this item and trying to craft a narrative around that specific product. This certainly doesn't need to be a novel's worth of text, but you should try and point out what's actually in it for the customer if they purchase this item, or maybe if this product is set to make their lives better in some way. Also, if there's perhaps a specific problem that this item was designed to solve, that's another great thing to cover in your descriptions. So when it comes to the photos that you're uploading to your site, there's also some important things to keep in mind there. Though we mentioned earlier that you'd want to have at least one image for your items, you should really try and feature multiple images per product, especially if these items come in different colors or styles. If the item has a special detail too, like maybe a zipper or a little applique, something like that, you'll want to make sure that you take a close-up photo that highlights this for anyone browsing your site. You should also consider watermarking your image. Now, this step may sound complex, but it's actually quite a simple process and will really serve you well in the long run. With a watermarked image, you're basically preventing, or at the very least discouraging, the external use of your photos, and you're also reinforcing your brand's image on the web. Finally, you'll want to make sure that you're consistent with your product photos. As we've mentioned, e-com is a very visually focused medium, and there's nothing more jarring than a bunch of photos on a page that are all shot with maybe different lighting or a different backdrop or focused. So try as best as possible to keep your photos consistent by using the same lighting and positioning across all your images. This will both serve to make your products look better on the website and will in turn make your whole site much more approachable and easier to navigate. So at this point, you've got products on your site. We've got some text content attached to each item and some beautiful photos too. The next thing you're going to want to focus on is optimizing the browsing experience for your customers. One of the most important things that you can do to make the browsing experience better for your customers is to put some serious thought into how your category structure is organized on the site. I find that it helps to think of category pages like aisles in your store. Now, in your store, you would never put two items that are completely unrelated side by side, so why would you do this on your website? It's super important to group together your products in a way that makes sense to your customer. Beyond the way in which they're organized, the way that your categories are named is also very important. When you're naming your categories, you should be as specific as possible and use simple terms that are directly related to your products. You should also consider being as concise as possible. Now is definitely not the time to add a lot of extra details or text, and instead you should try and use one or two words in the title of each category. So simplicity is definitely key here. If you're not sure where to start with any of this, then it really helps to do some research ahead of time. You can use a tool like Google Keyword Planner to find out what people are actually searching for the internet for. So whether it's men's button-up shirts are more popular than something more generic like men's shirts, you can actually see the trends for each of these different search terms and then use those keywords in your category titles. So now that you've got your categories organized, you'll want to make sure that it's as easy as possible for customers to place their order, as it's been reported that as many as 70% of customers who add items to their cart on a site ultimately don't end up making that purchase. To make this process easier, you're going to want to ensure that you have streamlined the checkout as much as possible. I always recommend that when people are first getting their website ready to launch, that they actually walk through the checkout process themselves as if they were a customer. This allows you to see exactly what it is your customers will be using when they eventually start shopping on your site. Doing this allows you to see if you're maybe asking for too much information that isn't necessary. So whether this is something like a landline number in addition to a cell phone number, or if you're forcing them to select a gender to complete the checkout process, you can go through and then remove any of these unnecessary fields to try and make the checkout as straightforward and simple as possible for everyone who wants to place an order from your shop. And for the customers who are visiting your site and adding items to their cart and then leaving, you can consider using an app to directly target these people. The Abandoned Cart app or My Abandoned Cart apps are available in our e-com app store, and these will allow you to send an automated email to anyone who visits your site, fills up their cart, but then doesn't complete the purchase. You can customize the text for each of these emails to try and gently prompt your customers to return to that site and ultimately win back that sale. You can even consider perhaps including like a small discount code as part of these abandoned cart emails, as further increase the chance that the customer will actually return to the site and ultimately place their order. So now that we've got your products configured and your site is fully optimized, we're going to want to make sure that you have all the tools and procedures in place so that you're ready to start selling online. One of the biggest things that you're going to need to consider is the shipping options that you're offering online. The three main shipping types that are available to merchants are integrated shipping, flat rate shipping, and pickup in store. In terms of integrated shipping, Lightspeed eCom connects to both ShipStation and EasyPost. These two tools will allow you to connect to the carrier that you want to use to send out your packages and actually pull live rates from that carrier and display these at the checkout. So these rates would vary depending on where that package is being shipped to or the amount of items that the customer has added into their cart. The rates will actually reflect the true cost of that shipment and should ensure that you're accurately charging for shipping on all of your orders. Once a customer actually selects one of these shipping options at checkout, the merchant can then actually generate a shipping label for the order and then send a tracking number directly to the customer. So the real advantage of these integrated shipping options is the sort of sped up fulfillment process at the end and really the simplification of the charges that are going to be pushed through to your customers. The only downside of using these integrated shipping options is the time required to configure it, as one will need to enter accurate weight and dimension values for all of the items so that the rates pulled from your carriers are actually accurate to what that shipment will cost. The next option is going to be flat rate shipping. With flat rate shipping, you as the merchant will be setting the prices that you want to charge for your orders. As the name would imply, these would be a flat rate, so something like $5, $10, $15, or $20 per shipment. The benefit of flat rate shipping is that it's generally very simple to configure, and it gives you an easy number to display to your customers, so there's no surprises when it comes time to check out. The only downside to flat rate shipping is that you're always going to be slightly undercharging or overcharging your customers, as the actual cost to ship is surely going to fluctuate with each order. So this is why it's definitely important to spend some time on the shipping calculator for whatever carrier it is you plan to use, so you can get a sense of what rates you're actually going to be paying and that you don't ultimately charge too low a price and end up eating a bunch of shipping charges. An even simpler option than flat rate shipping is the option to pick up your purchases in store. Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that many stores are closed to retail traffic. As a solution, you may instead want to offer something like curbside pickup, where your customers can come and safely pick up their orders outside of your retail shop. Regardless of the shipping strategy that you choose, you're going to want to ensure that you have adequate packing supplies on hand. The last thing you want to have to do is to constantly run back and forth between the post office or office supply store to buy packaging materials every time you get an order, so it pays to have a supply readily available. You should really also try and be as transparent as possible regarding the fees you'll be charging, because no one likes to be surprised when they get through to that checkout. So let's review maybe a few handy tips to keep in mind when you're planning out your shipping strategy. If you're going to be offering free shipping above a certain dollar amount, you'll want to identify your median order value. You can then choose to either set your free shipping tier directly at this value, or you can move it a little bit higher above that median number to encourage more spending on your site. You'll also want to ensure that it's not below the median value, because otherwise you'll find yourself losing a lot of money on shipping costs. You should also showcase your shipping policy somewhere clear and evident on your site, like a banner or a button, so that customers, again, aren't surprised when they go to the checkout and they see a shipping cost that's much higher than they would have expected. And finally, you can consider incorporating a loyalty program that might offer either points towards future purchases or free shipping as an incentive to drive more traffic and more orders to that website. So after you've got your shipping configured, you'll want to ensure that you're actually able to take payment on your site. To do so, you'd first need to select a payment processor and enter their credentials on your site to establish that connection between the payment processor and the e-com checkout. We here at Lightspeed offer our own integrated processing through Lightspeed Payments, but we also work with some of the other biggest players out there like Cayenne, Stripe, and PayPal. It may ultimately be beneficial to offer your customers a selection of different payment processors on the site so that they can find one that they're familiar with and feel comfortable entering their credit card details into. One of the final steps that you'll take before launching your site will be connecting your domain. Your website domain is what people will use to access your website, and it's another important part of your company branding. If you already have a custom domain, you're well ahead of the game. But if you don't own one, you can use a tool like GoDaddy, Google Domains, or even Mailchimp to ensure that your store's name is available. Once you've found the perfect domain name, you'll want to purchase that and connect it to your shop. This will allow customers to use that domain name to access your site, and it will give you a nice branded URL that you can share via social media and other channels. So to summarize, there we go. So to summarize, the first thing you'll tackle is adding your products online and featuring them with a well-written description and clear branded photos. Next, you'll want to optimize the browsing experience by using clean, organized categories and making sure that you have a very streamlined and simple checkout process. Finally, you'll have to take care of the logistics by selecting and setting up your shipping options and connecting your payment processing to make sure that you're ready to go as soon as that site is live and customers are visiting it and wanting to place your orders. So next, we're going to have a little Q&A with Deanna from Mailchimp. The first part of the Q&A is going to focus on selecting a domain and host and connecting it to your online store. So thanks so much for joining us today, Deanna. The first question that we've got here is, why are domain names so important?
Well, domain names are so important given the huge influence and usage of online channels for research and shopping. I think you touched on this before, Cameron, in your discussion. A domain name is more than just how customers are finding you online. It's directly tied to the identity and branding of your business. And this is why there's a lot of research and consideration that should be taken into account when you're making your domain name selection.
Awesome. So what would you say are some key things to consider while you're actually, looking through and selecting a domain name for your website?
So a few key things that are really important when you're selecting your domain name is that, one, you definitely want to make sure that it's short, it's memorable, and it's easy to remember. So you definitely want to stay away from like using slang in terms of like maybe using the letter U instead of spelling out U, as well as hyphens, because little things like that could really cause someone to enter in the wrong URL and end up on a different website. So you definitely want to stay clear of that. I definitely would recommend that you would use 15 characters or less. That just makes it easy for someone to remember your URL and easily type it into their search bar. Secondly, for businesses that already have a physical space and you're looking to take your business online, it's very important that your domain name is tied to the company name that you already have established as much as possible, so customers see that connection as they're engaging with your brand in the physical and online space. Again, when you're looking for extensions, .com is the most popular extension, but don't worry if you're unable to get a .com name, because these days it's very hard to come by sometimes depending on what name you're looking for. So there are other extensions that you can use, such as like .biz, .org, etc., that might meet the needs of your business. For net new businesses that are just starting their business and you're starting your business online for the first time and you don't have that physical presence, it's very important to just look at your keywords as well. Your URL also drives increase in ranking from an SEO perspective. So making sure that if you can incorporate some of the keywords in order to drive increase in ranking when customers are searching for terms related to your business. For instance, if you have a kitchens business, for instance, you might want to have the word kitchen in your URL name if you can, and that would just, again, drive increase in ranking. Some other things to consider when you're selecting a domain name is, once you have captured your domain name, you definitely want to make sure that you also get the same handles across your social media platforms, such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, etc. in order for your customers to easily be able to find your brand across multiple platforms. Because we know in today's day and age, customers are on Facebook, Instagram, so you want to make sure that they have that seamless experience and you're able to be found rather quickly. Last but not least, I would say the last thing to consider that's why I said there's a lot of research and consideration that goes into this decision. But the last thing is to really search and research the history of your domain, just to make sure there aren't any like trademark issues or any legal issues that you would have to deal with in the future. So it's easier for you to kind of be aware of that up front so you can handle it accordingly.
Smart, yeah. So once you've actually got that domain name, how does one go about actually registering that?
So there's a lot of places that you can choose from. Cameron, you also mentioned them earlier before. Mailchimp actually now offers the ability for you to actually search and register your domain, and you can link it directly to your account.
Nice. So for the second portion here, we're going to touch a bit on building your audience, customer relationship management, so CRM, and monitoring performance. So how would you say that the current market landscape has impacted the way that brands are actually engaging with their audience?
Well, I think that we have felt, and we've all felt the impacts of the current pandemic that we're currently in, and the current landscape has had the current market landscape has had a drastic impact on how brands are engaging with their audience, especially with the large percentage of businesses that are now taking their business online. Looking at Mailchimp and just our overall user activity, our users saw a sudden increase in online orders as people are adjusting to stay-at-home orders. So there's just been an influx not only of businesses that are going online, but also now online channel has become even more a primary source of shopping for everyone around the world. So with that increased customer behavior shifting to the online channel, as well as so many businesses that are getting online, there's increased competition. So now it's more important than ever that brands really engage with their audience in a one-to-one, very personalized way in order for you to be able to cut through the noise and kind of stand out in the crowd that exists today.
Okay, awesome. So kind of maybe as a follow-up on that, what would you say some key strategies are to employ to drive awareness of your online business and build your audience? Like really, how can businesses try and make themselves, stand out online in this, shifting and difficult market landscape?
So given the very crowded market landscape that we're in today, and the fact that consumers, even before the pandemic, but now more than ever, consumers are coming in contact and they're often inundated with a lot of information across multiple channels. And now that people are at home, they're more active from an online standpoint. They're checking emails, you're browsing Instagram and Facebook, you're searching on Google for like endless products that you're interested in right now because there's nothing else to do. So with that behavior, it's definitely more important now to have an integrated marketing campaign strategy. And that allows you to reach customers where they are and engage with them across multiple touch points. So having a all-in-one marketing platform such as Mailchimp, that allows you to really engage with your customers across those multiple channels and really provide that one-to-one personalization as they are navigating across all those different touch points. And then it also allows you to really analyze the performance of your marketing channel performance in order for you to effectively maximize your return on investment and optimize your future marketing campaigns. So I would say, like, for one, it would be really focusing on that personalization. And then also something that marketers are really focused on right now is content, automations, audience management. So how are you able to utilize automations in order to drive efficiency and in order to drive repeat purchases and just have things that are automatically set up that you can have run and target specific segments within your customer base, as well as managing your audience in the right way in order for you to understand who are your shoppers, what are they buying, and how do I personalize my messaging to meet their needs. As we're looking at an overall integrated marketing strategy, email is still a very core strategy in order to reach your customer base. And that's where personalization becomes more important within your email campaign strategy, especially I'm pretty sure Cameron, as well as people that listen to this webinar, you're getting tons of emails, a lot of sales, everything is like coming through. So it's very important for you to personalize your messaging. So if someone came to your site and you know that they're interested in shoes, then you make sure that your messaging, like new product drops and new shoes that are added to your assortment, so you can personalize your messaging, increasing your click-through rates and ultimately your conversion.
Nice. Yeah, those are definitely good tips. So I mean, maybe as when we're talking about, you know, this huge sort of set of like customers that businesses are trying to deal with, like, what would you say the best way is to manage that audience so you can, you know, maybe effectively personalize and, you know, customize those recommendations when communicating with them?
So the best way to manage your audience is through the usage of a CRM, and that stands for Customer Relationship Management. You're able to connect your store to a CRM platform like Mailchimp, and a CRM platform allows you to see your audience all in one place. So whether you're have a physical location that you are looking to take online, and now you want to understand like how that audience performs and how can you best target them in order to drive them to purchase products through your online channel. So this allows you to really organize that audience in one central location. So imagine if you have like the ability where you're able to tell the order history of a given customer, how much they spent, whether they're first time or repeat customers, and then you're able to take all of that information and organize it and have the ability to send a targeted personalized email and generate more sales, allowing you to more effectively utilize your marketing dollars. So that's exactly what a CRM provides, and it takes out the need for you to kind of like use like different spreadsheets and maybe jotting down information about different customers.
Yeah.
It's just a very, very seamless way for you to organize your audience, and it definitely leads to more personalized and more segmented marketing campaigns that will lead to greater conversion for your site.
For sure, yeah. No, nobody's definitely a fan of spreadsheets.
Yes.
So maybe last question. What is the importance of monitoring performance, and what would you say is the best way to effectively and efficiently do this?
You cut out a little bit. So in terms of the importance of monitoring performance, one thing that I love, I've been in the e-commerce space for over 10 years now, working for a lot of different brands. And what I really love about e-commerce is the ability for you to look at performance and make adjustments in real time in order for you to maximize your revenue potential. That is really core, especially for any e-commerce retailers. It's very important for you to monitor how are your customers navigating throughout your site. What are they buying? What are they not buying? In order for you to make quick changes, and making that quick change can have a huge impact on your revenue potential. So marketing platforms, Mailchimp in particular, we do offer built-in tools like the marketing CRM that I just mentioned, segmentation and behavioral targeting that allow you to better track and better understand how your customers are interacting with your business. And again, the end goal is how do I maximize my sales potential through more streamlined, more optimized marketing strategies. And that's the way that you're able to do it, through a marketing platform that provides you not only with the ability to reach your customer across multiple touch points through multiple channels, but also taking that information and consolidating it in one central view in order for you to really analyze what is the impact and what is the performance of the marketing campaigns that I have executed, and how do I continue to optimize, again, to maximize revenue potential.
Cool. Well, yeah, thank you so much for that Q&A. We're going to move on now to a quick Q&A that we got from some of the audience questions that came in. So it looks like the first one up here is, looks like this one's for me. So what are the differences between the two integrated shipping partners I mentioned? So the two that Lightspeed work with are ShipStation and EasyPost. At their core, these two pieces of software do the same thing. They connect the information that the customer entered at checkout for, you know, stuff like their shipping address, the items in their cart, and it displays those live rates from your carriers. But the main sort of core difference between the two of these comes after that order is placed. So Easy Post is sort of the more simple of those two integrations. It just allows you to generate those shipping labels, send out those tracking numbers, but that's pretty much it. ShipStation gives you the ability to handle a few more kind of complex workflows after the fact. So you can split up orders into multiple shipments. You can require signature on pickup, and you can add insurance to the packages that are sent out. So really, at their core, they do the same thing, but Easy Post does things with a bit more of a simple workflow, where ShipStation gives a few more kind of complex options at the end. Okay, there's another question here. So can I add multiple languages or currencies onto my site? So yes, that absolutely is something that we can do with our e-com platform. You can have multiple different languages. That'll give you the ability to translate that content from your website into whatever language you want to display. This, again, sort of allows you to reach, a broader customer base. You can also display multiple different currencies, so a customer is going to get a sense of, what they're going to be charged. They will always be charged in that sort of the set like home currency for your store, but it will at least give them that display conversion so they get a sense of what that's ultimately going to cost when it hits their bank. The next question here, just saying, every item I sell is unique. So this would mean taking photos for every product, and that would be very time consuming. Any tips on how to handle this? So, I mean, this definitely can get a little tricky because, yeah, obviously, taking photos does take time, but it is unfortunately one of those things that you can't really avoid, just because of the nature of e-commerce as a medium. It is so visually focused. So I mean, with your retail store, you have people coming in, you've got your staff there who can paint that vivid picture, tell them all about it, they can look at it, touch it, and hold it. E-com, you don't have that. So there kind of isn't leaving a photo out, it just isn't really an option, because people browsing that site, they're not going to know what you're selling. So if you can maybe, group some of the items together into a single photo, so you can take, one photo that has a few different products in it, and then, clearly list which item the customer would be purchasing when they actually make that order on the site. I would say that's probably your best option to speed up the process. But in terms of just avoiding it entirely, I really wouldn't say that that's a good route to take. So I think the last question we've got time for here is again sort of on the photo side of things, saying, do I need to hire a professional photographer for photos on the site? So I definitely wouldn't say that this is something necessary. I mean, nowadays, cell phone cameras have gotten so good, you don't need to have, a fancy SLR camera just to take some product photos. Really, it's just a question of that consistency that I was mentioning earlier. So making sure that the backdrop is the same, making sure that they're all shot with the same lighting. If at all possible, try and shoot with natural light rather than, light from like a, overhead lighting. So yeah, certainly not necessary. I mean, if you have, the bandwidth, if you have the budget to hire that professional photographer, I mean, that's their job. I'm sure they'll make your products look, extra special, but I definitely wouldn't say it's something necessary. It's certainly something that, you should be able to handle with the tools you have available. So thanks so much for everyone for attending this webinar today. Thanks to you, Deanna, for that Q&A. It was really great to have you involved in this.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for more resources and tools, you can check out some of the COVID-19 links that we've got here. And if there's any questions or if you're looking for any more information, you can contact us at the email listed below. So again, thanks everyone for attending. I hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.